An extensive driving review of the updated Mercedes G-Class and solving the big question, what is the best powertrain? The 6-cylinder, the 8-cylinder in the G63 or the all-electric version, the new G-Class EV. We'll drive them all for you and then find out at the end of the review which one is best or maybe which one is best for you. With Thomas Nadegefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. Starting with the G63, the sportiest or most screaming out petrol version model. Here then with vertical fins in the front grille. So this is a more aggressive look. Whereas the G500 or G550 as it's called in the US, the 6-cylinder petrol now has a little bit more subtle look. If you can talk about subtle look for a G-Class or the G-Wagon. The turning indicators, as always, here on the top. You can also get it in this darkened out scheme if you want that. You can see here also that the Mercedes star is all blacked out, so different designs are possible. This one also equipped with some carbon fiber detailing. You can always see it in the lower part. Usual G-Class starts 18-inch wheels up to 20-inch. AMG starts 20-inch wheels and then up to 22-inch. And these ones are the biggest ones available here in this golden style. So yeah, most screaming out look as for that one. The length here really depends more on what you have behind the vehicle. If you have a full spare tire like we have it here, or if you have none, or maybe just a so-called design box with the EV. So I'm going to show that to you. Because the base length is all the same, and then it really just depends what comes on top of that, here with some carbon fiber housing as well. This is then the G63 model. You can already see it here in the badge in the rear. Among the updates for this facelift is also a lot about aerodynamics, because wind noise on the inside has always been a thing. You see that the base building form of this vehicle is just huge. It's a large box, actually. Yeah, you can also see driving on this. It should be in G500, I think. So, especially in this area, there were a lot of wind noise and they tried to tackle that. So this stripe here is new, this one here, and also on top of that there's a new lip leading the air better over the vehicle, and together with some insulation measures, Mercedes promises us now that it's a little bit more silent on the interior, especially on the motorway. Of course, we're going to find out for you if this is actually true. But of course, we also have to talk about the different petrol engines. It would start with the 3-liter 6-cylinder diesel, actually, with around 370 horsepower. Then there is the G500 or G550, it's called in the US. This is then the 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol engine. Has been kind of, let's say, downgraded from a 8-cylinder to a 6-cylinder, that one. Which is not necessarily only a bad thing. And why is that? I'll tell you later when I drive this 6-cylinder. So that 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol engine is at 450 horsepower. No matter which petrol or diesel you pick now, they are all mild hybrids. So you have like an electric boost. 5.4 seconds, the acceleration figure for the petrol engine. And here then, with 585 horsepower, the G63 4-liter V8 bi-turbo. It's then 4.3 seconds in the acceleration figure with the AMG Performance Pack, because then you also can do a launch control with this one. For the interior, let's start with the G63. That door closing sound has always been very iconic, and you really have to slam the door. So just closing it gently usually ends up like this, and it's not really properly closed. And that sound is super iconic, it's fun, but you also have to mention that when you close it a lot of times during the day, not sure how often that is happening, then it can also be sometimes annoying that you always have to use so much force. Yeah, but that's probably just personal preference. Cockpit here of the G63. You can see there are some major upgrades. First of all, on the passenger side, you have this very interesting handle here. This is then, yeah, for off-road use mainly, that the passenger can also hold tight. Some carbon fiber decoy elements you can see right here. And when I'm sitting here with 189, 6'2", there's a lot of headroom left. There is this panoramic roof. There's like this manual shade, and there's also a one, when I hit the ignition here, this one here, you can actually still really open like this to leave some more light in. Yeah, so that's pretty nice. Then cockpit changes, more infotainment system upgrades. So you have a newer version in here of the software, and that's cool. You have it also via touch. So here, right side then wire touch. This is actually quite cool. And also in the digital instruments, you can set different stylings. You can have this more classic view, but you can also go for this super sport look, for example. So like the interior upgrades, I've just yesterday driven the pre-facelift one, and yeah, in comparison to this, then it looks already like a little bit dated, more or less. Seats, so far only animal skin surfaces available, but I heard they are developing also animal-free version at the moment. They're coming too late with that. Yeah, but of course we'll keep you updated with that, with the developments. Glove box here, dampened. You can also slam it through. And then I really like the turbine vent style here. There's also some ambient lighting on the inside. And this is particularly interesting. This is the off-road cockpit. And there I have the different differential locks, front, central, rear, and also the low range activation. And just remember how that one looks when we switch over to the electric version, because obviously there are no mechanical locks for the electric version because the electric motors are not connected. So this will be different very soon. I really like the carbon fiber decal element also on the middle console here, because then you don't have so much black piano lacquer. This way you can slide open. There's now inductive charging pad, which is also cooled underneath. So when I remove this rubber pad here, you can see there's the cooling opening. So that's actually good. However, I have tested it, and although it has this cooling opening, the phone was still overheating. That's unusual, because usually when you have these cooling functions, they don't do that anymore. They don't overheat. Here it was the same case. I'm not sure why. Then the cup holders are quite large, but don't hold bottles that tight. But they can be cooled and heated at the same time. That's a cool luxury feature. Then you have this touchpad here where you can also control the infotainment system, like swipe right and left. In the lower part you also control the driving modes, like sport mode, comfort mode, and so on. The AMG also now gets a special hydraulic roll stabilization on demand. So it starts all with the adaptive suspension. New is this roll stabilization. We'll test today because this vehicle is equipped with everything. Then here, more space in the middle console. They have a lot of cables here in the moment. Yeah. They always put it here then for events that everyone can charge actually the phones. And this is my favorite steering wheel, because it's microfiber on the side and carbon fiber on the top. And you can choose the driving modes directly at the steering wheel. That is a very convenient thing to do. This AMG steering wheel always has the two-spoke design, whereas a base G-Class steering wheel would have this, you know, like this one wing right and left, and then have like a slot design on the middle part, so it looks a little bit different. What about the rear? Because in the front I can easily sit. You have this upright seating position. It's so special when you look towards the front and see this large hood, so that you can understand why people say, I feel so special when driving a G-Class. However, the rear seating experience is, first of all, a little bit limited as for the space. However, it still works with at least four tall adults, if not 5 tall adults. Here in the middle part you can also sit. Also works as for the headroom. Here's a little bit stiffer. On the outside, a little bit softer. You don't really need this rear seat entertainment system. I think it's kind of useless. To me, people rather tend to use their own devices, I feel. It's not the most comfortable experience in your rear, but at least you also sit upright, and that's it. And talking about the wind and so on, this will be better than here in the new version, so that is also improving the rear seating comfort a little bit. But it's not like a passenger luxury experience like in the modern SUV. You just have to know that. What is always quite cool, I found, is the seat folding process, because here you have this strap here, and then you can pull up the lower part, and that makes space then for the back part here, and then you can fold everything flat. There's still a step to the trunk, but in that way you can better load longer things in. And I would say we take a look at the trunk right now, because you have about 575 liters, and since you have the spare tire, it opens in the side way like this. This is the petrol version, obviously. 1 meter or 40 inches in width easily. The length is about 80 centimeters or 31 inches. And the special thing is always the height, which is enormous. And there's like, what? I mean, the opening here, it's like 1 meter and 5 or 41 inches. massive indeed. And there you can see here, when I folded one of the seats, I can do the very same with the bench on the left side. You can see there is the step still, but then this one actually folds flat. Now the G63 race start. Plop.
Oh my God.
Yeah, of course, this is a difference to the G500. Oh, and also the suspension, especially here then in the Sport Plus mode. Wow, this is really rough, and here now you feel every little bump in the road. And also here the 22-inch wheels, they of course reduce the comfort massively. So this is more for when the road is really even and nice and so on. These ones pass here. We can go off the side path here with it.
It's nice.
Yeah. Although 22-inch wheels, yeah, might not be the best choice for off-roading for sure. But of course in the Sport Plus mode, so responsive with this 585 horsepower. And then here, when the road is a little bit better, then the 22-inch wheels are actually fine. Then you feel the sportiness, you have, all of that response. Here, this vehicle equipped with the anti-roll stabilization. And indeed, I mean, usually a G-Class shakes up quite substantially, but here it does so less. Once again, no comparison to a real sports SUV, but considering it's a G-Class, it stays more upright now. Let's also compare how it is in the comfort mode. Yeah, I think, a little bit softer, but you feel it more? Yeah, but I mean, in general, it doesn't shake up much. And from suspension, I mean, as long as the road is even and nice, it's actually fine. Just when it's like bumpy, then it really sets in, definitely. Here on the countryside road, maybe you heard it earlier, it is very windy today, but once again, I have to say, definitely a little bit less wind noise than before. But still, as I said, already on the motorway, there is still significant wind noise here on the interior. Here, when you push the vehicle into the corners, then you still feel the weight and that you also sit really high. It is better definitely now with the roll stabilization, so the G63 definitely helps there. But I wouldn't say it's fun in a way of driving like a sports SUV like Porsche Cayenne or a GLE AMG or something like that. So you definitely feel the off-road capabilities still, that it's more on the off-road side than on the fun driving side or something. But for the G-Class here, still quite a good, but I'm not sure how good it is on the passenger. It's yeah. The other thing is when things are shaking up, that's also not that good on the passenger for sure. Yeah, for that case, actually Sport or Sport Plus is actually better because it just keeps the car a little bit stiffer, and then the passenger usually feels also a little bit better. Then again, in the Sport Plus, you tend to accelerate a little bit more, and the responsiveness is really, really cool. And of course, you always have this really nice growling sound that keeps you entertained here in the G63. So as for controlling it on the road and on the corners, as long as everything goes straight, is absolutely fine. But you should not use the power to use it as a race machine. When the corners get a little bit tighter and you accelerate out hard of the corners, it is not that well controllable as it probably seems, or as AMG like name suggesting or something. Here then the power sets in sometimes really spontaneously when the turbos are also setting in and so on. So you have to be mindful with this vehicle. Just because you have the power doesn't mean you use it as a race machine. AMG usually always promises this very sporty character, and it also does have it in the longitudinal way, but you have to be aware of, be careful with it. It is not meant to be driven that agile in the corners. This is just not what the car is, meant to be in the first place. It's still a G-Class, a Geländewagen. It's still more meant for the off-road purpose. So just don't stress it too much, I would say, in that kind of respect. But of course, sound-wise, this V8 here is always a lot of fun. I also like the updated steering. It's really precise. You see here, you don't have to work that much. I feel in the pre-facelift, you had to work the steering a little bit more at the same time. So it's more comfortable and sporty at the same time. To me, also more progressive. So very good control of the vehicle as for the steering. But of course, weight and suspension-wise and so on, you always have to stay focused that you don't do anything too wild with this vehicle. You feel that at some point you will lose control over the vehicle if you just stress it over the limit. Pricing roundabout, taken from the German reference price, at least 120,000 euros for the diesel, 130,000 for the G500 or G550, the 6-cylinder petrol engine, then more than 140,000 euros for the EQ, for the G580, the electric version, and yeah, some 190,000 euros for the G63. Of course, then when you add some extra equipment, you easily pay more than 200,000 euros for the G63. And of course, also the electric version will get more expensive. So definitely the G63 is still the by far most expensive version.